Special thank you to Seed and Stone Cidery and Lucky Buzz Meadery for sponsoring the show today. They help to make this show possible and supply us with the occasional beverage when we're out there. They've got 10 taps full of meads and ciders made right there in-house. They've also got all sorts of awesome events going on, including an open mic almost every single Thursday where you can come out and show your musical talent. So all you songwriters out there, stop out and grab a cider or a mead and tell them that the Songwriters Couch and the Patrick Joanne Band sent you. Again, Seed and Stone Cidery right here in Rochester, New York. Go out and visit them and let them know we sent you. Thanks, guys.
This meeting is being recorded.
What?
You might want to turn off your speakers if you got speakers.
I didn't think they were on. Like, okay, let's turn this off. Let's see if. Oh God, is that better? Wait, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
I can still hear you. Okay.
All right, let me start. All right, welcome. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do a little. All right, welcome to episode number 37 of the Songwriters Couch. On today's show, we've got a repeat guest, Monika Ryan. And before I introduce her, I've got a couple of things to housekeeping things to get out of the way. So first and foremost, thank you to our patrons. Thank you to everyone that watches and listens. Continue to subscribe and like. It really helps with the algorithms and all that stuff. Quick announcement, we will be changing a little bit the format of the show going forward, but you'll get to see it when that happens. But go down there, like, subscribe, comment, do all that kind of thing. And we've got a new sponsor, but thank you to our existing sponsor, Seed and Stone, who's been a sponsor since the beginning of the show, and that played before. But going forward to here, we have another sponsor, which is Music Industry Mastery. It is a marketing agency that helps support local artists and businesses. Whether you need PR, production, or lyric videos, Music Industry can help. They're offering a special VIP rate all summer long for lyric videos. If you mention the Songwriters Couch sent you, you can get $50 off a lyric video just by mentioning you saw this on our show. You can email Danny, DANI, at DannyFelt, DANIFELT.com to get started with your lyric video today. And of course, that'll be in the description down below, and get $50, Monika, off of your cool lyric video for your song. And of course, on today's show, we've got the one, the only Monika Ryan. Welcome back, Monika.
Oh, thank you. It's so fun to be back here with you. Thank you.
And I think we've gotten this remote thing down finally after a little while too, because I was having lots of trouble with getting the audio to work and all this stuff for the last few ones. So I think we're good here. But I know you've been on the show before. Why don't you tell everyone kind of what you do and where they can find you and your new stuff, especially. You might as well drop that now and tell people where they can find your new album and all that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My name is like Monica, but with a K. So it's Monika, Monika, and my website is MonikaRyan.com. That's probably the best way to find what's going on in my life. But I also have public Facebook and Instagram and all of that stuff. The music is all on anywhere you stream, Spotify, Apple, anywhere else. And I do have limited quantities of hard copies of the albums. My latest album, my newest album, the album coming out this Friday. Actually, came out last Friday.
It will be, yes, correct.
Because it's next Monday. Right.
Yep.
So we're a week ahead.
already out.
So it's already out. My latest album is called Alive, and I recorded it in Valencia, Spain, and then added a little bit to it in the New York area. And I'm very, very excited about Alive. It's a vocal jazz album.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I got a chance Yeah, I know I get the secret behind the scenes chance to listen to it. So I appreciate you sending me that. It's a fucking beautiful album. Pardon my I keep getting told not to curse right at the beginning of the episode because YouTube tends to bury stuff if you curse.
Well, in the context of this, I'll take it. That's beautiful. It's like a big exclamation point. So thank you.
I use it to emphasize. So why Spain? Oh wait, before we get into that, I know we talked a little bit. Let's do our two truths and a lie bit here, and we'll get
Okay.
to into the album after we get to know you a little bit better. At least I get to know you a little bit better, Monika. So
Okay.
cue the theme music right now. And we're back.
Okay.
Magic of post editing.
Two truths and a lie.
Yeah. So lay them on me, Monika.
Okay. Okay. I once won a prize in a contest for my trivia knowledge
Oh,
about George Washington.
this is very meta, you know? It's like trivia, and I like it. Right, so trivia about George Washington.
Yes.
Okay.
I once competed in a tango contest.
Ooh, what? Tango. Huh?
Okay. Yes. Okay. And I
The
have
most seductive of dances.
the most seductive of dances. And I have completed 3 marathons.
Oh.
Two truths and a lie.
George Washington marathons. I'm going to go with the George Washington.
Is the lie?
Trivia is the lie.
It's true.
when, did, when did you win that? When was this recent?
No. It was shortly after I was out of college, and it was a work contest. I had a job as an executive assistant. I had a jazz degree, which, as you can imagine, pays a bundle.
Yeah.
There's opportunities for lots of money in that. No, so I had a job because I also had student loans and Manhattan rent.
Yeah.
So I had a job as an executive assistant, and there was like an employee competition. And
What did you?
It was.
Do you remember what
I don't. Oh, I do, but I don't remember. I remember it was something in a bottle, and the bottle was shaped like George Washington. But I never opened it. I don't even know what was in it. Was it like?
Do you know
it
a
was
lot
gold
about George Washington? And this is very apropos
No.
because we're right around July 4th here. So
I know.
we're like, well,
I don't know that much about George Washington. I mean, I know a little bit about a lot of things. So if you catch me on the right day with the right questions, I might seem like I know
but
a lot.
but you knew more than everyone else apparently, right? Because you won the contest. So
Yeah, right.
all right, so which one is
It might have even been an open book for all I know. It might have been like, you can find the answers however you want. I don't even remember. It was so long ago.
So what's the lie then?
I know how to tango dance, but I have never been in a dance competition for tango.
All right. Yeah, I don't. That's the one dance I took a bunch of like not salsa, but I took was it the waltz and all those like classes.
Yeah.
I took some classes with like all the old ladies in a community center by me.
How fun.
Last year or the year before, which was really fun because I'm a terrible dancer. I've got like 3 left feet, Monika.
Oh, that's so fun though. And especially, first of all, I love old people. I mean, I really love old people. And I once took it, a girlfriend and I once took an exercise class with all old people. It was the best. It was like a water aerobics class.
Yeah.
And we had the best time. It was so fun. I was like, this is what I should be doing with my time.
Almost like a complete lack of inhibition.
Yes, chit-chatting, funny side comments,
Funny because I think I was definitely at least half the age of everyone in in there. So all the sync, because they were basically what they did is they form kind of pairs. So some people would come with their significant other, but then there was a bunch of people that would just come on their own. And all the ladies would be happy to get me as their partner
Of course they would.
Until I started dancing and I was stepping all over their feet and ruining their shoes and stuff.
I'm sure that they were having a ton of fun
Yeah.
dancing with
Yeah.
you.
So you ran marathons though. That's awesome.
Yes, yes. These are, I mean, both of these truths are very old truths
Yeah.
from a long time ago. But yes, I ran the New Orleans Marathon. I ran the New York Marathon, and I walked. I walked the Chicago Marathon.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
kind of ran a little bit, but I walked it.
I didn't know you did that. I've done a bunch of marathons myself too. I did a few ultras back in the day. So,
Oh,
but after COVID, I got like asthma from COVID and haven't
oh.
been able to really, my running is like drastically suffered because of it.
Can you
Um,
work your way back up to that?
I'm trying. So I've gotten a few things that I'm starting to work myself back into. So I've gotten an inhaler now that helps, like a rescue inhaler before I run or during the run. You can do that. And I've actually bought this like canned oxygen stuff that I'm
Hmm.
using too that kind of helps. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to work through it or not. We'll see. I
Mm.
definitely won't be able to run marathons, I don't think, ever again, nor do I kind of have the energy
You
to
know, walking a marathon's a lot of fun.
But so is just running like a 5K on a tread,
That's true.
and then going home and resting.
My friend Tina and I in Chicago, we were like, let's do the Chicago Marathon. Let's do it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. And we both signed up. And
You don't have to
then, you know,
qualify for Chicago?
you don't have to qualify for Chicago. And I was like, my kids were little and I was not doing the training really.
Yeah.
And she had something in her life that sort of slowed down her training that happened. And we were both saying, oh, I don't really want to drop out. And we realized we signed up together and neither of us had trained. So we had a perfect solution. We just walk it
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
And so, there were several bands along the course. And every time we saw a band and I knew somebody in the band, I said, let's run, let's run.
Oh,
Go running by. But then we walked, and in the last like half mile, the chase vehicle was behind us. I was like, I don't want to get DQ'd. We better start running. So we've crossed the finish line jogging.
well, what's funny is I've always found like running, and especially those type of long races like marathons and stuff, very very life less, like it's a great life lesson, because what I've noticed, like you're saying, you walked, right? And a few of the marathons, especially early on when I started running them, I would go out super hot, like right from the
Oh
start,
yeah.
and a
Oh, that's
bunch of
exciting.
people, when you're new to the marathon, like this long distance running, people do that. They'll like take off with the fast people because they think they're fast, and then you by like halfway through, you're just done. And so a lot of the people that would just speed walk the marathons in the first couple ones, I'd find them like mile 23, they'd be passing
Right.
because I'm just
Right.
shuffling, trying to like just get the energy just to finish. And the reason I say it's very like life lessony, if that's a word,
It works.
is because like the lesson of just keep going, like consistency of just
Yeah.
keep going, even if it's slow, and kind of pace yourself, and seeing that, like, see people that come out really fast and they're all ambitious about this, and they think, oh, I'm going to beat all these people or whatever. By the end, they're the ones that are being passed by old people, and that are just power
Even if they're
thing.
even if they're not competitive, they could just get overexcited, right? Like
Yeah.
it could be just that, like, oh my gosh, all
Yeah,
these
and they just
people are here. Oh, and then
it's a good life lesson. And I feel like those races too, especially the last, if you're running them, the last like 4 to 5 miles is all in your head. It's like 100
yeah,
in your head, because like I've gotten I don't even know how many I've done. I've done maybe 15 or 16, and some of them like ultras or whatever. But you get
that's amazing.
like mile 20, 21, you're like, oh, I feel good. I can keep running. And then like mile 23, 23 or 22 comes along and you're like, oh man, that last mile just took everything out of me. And you just have to say, okay, my legs are going to hurt anyway. Everything's going to hurt anyway. Just
Right.
keep them moving. And then you can
Right.
rest when it's over. That,
Right. Lean into
yeah,
it.
that kind of mentality. Yeah. I used to do that too, where you just lean, use
Just
gravity to
don't
pull.
fall. Catch yourself with your feet.
Oh, but that's amazing. Like that, not many people have done marathons, full marathons, and it takes a certain kind of stick to itiveness uh,
Yes.
to complete
Yeah.
something like that, because you could easily halfway through it be like, I'm done,
Yeah, it's true. You could say right to keeping your commitment to yourself or to your people or to whoever, to the universe that I'm going to see this through. Like I'm in it.
Yeah. I feel
So
like I feel like that's why a lot of the especially the professional musicians like you and a lot of the people in the little group of indie musicians that we have that we're all in are that same kind of personality type. It's this like I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna make little bits of progress and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And eventually people get Grammys, they get
right.
things that like stuff happens to people that just don't stop.
That you don't, yeah, it's a war of attrition.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is, right?
and,
Music.
and also
Yeah.
it's like yeah, you have the same sort of conversation with yourself after, like, you complete the marathon, you feel good about it, but you're tired, you're thinking, just as you're going, I'm never going to do that again. The next day you're ready to sign up again. I feel like spending money on making records is exactly the same. I'm not going to do this. Yeah, I'm doing it tomorrow. Hey, you want to do that?
Yeah. Well, what's funny about the music stuff too is like you have a bunch of marathons that are all like one after the other. Like you've written the material and then you have to rehearse it so that you can play it live, but then you also got to record it. So you got to rehearse it, work out all the kinks of the song, make sure it is its final version. Then you go and record, and that's a marathon in and of itself to get it all recorded and done and mixed and mastered to the point where you like it still at the end of it.
Right, right.
Then you've got to release it, and there's your next marathon where you have to promote it and get it out there to people and play shows and or tour if you're doing tours and all that stuff. And then as soon as
Right.
that stuff's done, if you're doing something like trying to get awards for it, then you've got that whole PR campaign that you're doing, trying to get awards and all that. And then you're on to your next album and doing it all over again. So you're doing like back-to-back marathons, so to speak.
I know. I
Um,
know. It's kind of crazy,
which
but
leads
it's
us to your
beautiful too.
yeah, to your album. And one of the questions I was going to ask you right before we started the Two Truths and a Lie was why Spain, Monika?
Oh, why Spain? Well, there's like this. Why did I record it in Spain? We were going to Spain. So there's like two things that just came together at the same time is what happened. Sergio Pereira, the guitar player who I recorded this with, he and I have wanted to make a record together. We've been mutual fans for a long time. Sometimes, you know how it is. Like you want to do a project with somebody and that it just doesn't present until,
Yeah.
oh, wait, we can do this. It's like looking the long game at the horizon. It could take years, but then that moment comes and let's do that. So that's what happened is that Jeremy and I were having a big anniversary. It was our 25th wedding anniversary last October. And we have two teenagers. We don't do like a ton of traveling. Um, you know, Life is really busy. And we said, you know what, let's go on a trip. Let's go on a trip. And we both wanted to go to Spain. And then when he said, well, how do you feel about Spain? I said, I feel great about Spain. And then within, I don't know, a very short period of time, I was like, Sergio's in Spain. So I was like, wait. So I asked Jeremy, would you be okay if I took a day in the studio to record a record while I was in Spain? And he said, sure, because he has a small business. And you know how small business owners feel like you don't really have anybody to leave your business with if you're a sole proprietor.
Yeah,
You
you're
can keep Yeah, he was keeping an eye on things, and he set things up before we left, and he didn't have anything that really demanded his attention, but there was peace of mind for him in having that same time that I was recording and answering correspondence and, checking on everybody's stuff. So it was actually, even though we had this work day right in our sort of vacation, it made it more relaxing for both of us
Mm.
because we both got something important done.
Yeah.
And so we could settle into vacation. So it was kind of like a workation
It,
single day.
it's so interesting. That I think that's great that he's an entrepreneur too and understands that. Because same in my relationship, my girlfriend, owns a her own business, and so she understands that too. Like we're gonna be in Montreal soon
Nice.
next month, something like that. And, and I end up she's like, of course you did. Ended up booking a show there. So I'm like, oh, well,
Sure.
I'll make a little money. Never played in Montreal before, so I'll go play over there. So I booked the show. She's like, of course, you booked the show. But she understands too, because she's still got to work on those days too when we're on vacation.
Yeah.
So
It gives her like it gives her a minute to ease her mind about her work, right? Like that's how it works with us. When if I have something, I'm not working every day. I worked one day. We didn't rehearse.
it does, but you almost get a better. I almost feel like when you go into the studio or you go to record, you were talking about this, I think before the podcast, about catching magic in a
Oh
bottle,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Lightning in a bottle.
or lightning in a bottle. Yeah, where,
Yeah,
like the first take. A lot of times that's my vocal too. Like I'll redo the vocal over and over and over again, and then I'll realize after, like, no, that first take was where all the
I do
energy
that.
was. And yeah, but I'm like, oh, but I screwed up this little part. But in the end, I feel like those little things is what make the song unique, or make the vocal line unique. Those little,
Yeah, yeah. There's magic when you're all together. What happens to me is I might. I have a very dynamic voice. So I could possibly sing the same song differently every time I sing it. Now, once I set up my way on how I'm going to sing it, I can replicate it. But
right.
while I'm making the decision, how am I going to sing it? It's like it could be that was good, but I think I got better. And that's what happens to me. And so I end up like, well, what if I did it this way? What if I did it that way? What if I did it this way? And there was a certain humanity usually in the first one because it's tender and sometimes a little tentative in a very beautiful way. That sort of way we walk through life, stepping carefully and looking where we go and very present for it. That's like a first, second take kind of approach. But when I go, well, I could make my tone so much more full, or I could make those syllables a little bit more chucky. And then, I can, but then when I hear it, it sounds like, well, good for you. Would you look at Scooby's neck? Like
Have there's a
that's
song.
not nearly as nice.
When was it? It was a few years ago. I'd come up with a song. I was coming back actually from an open mic, which is kind of like my poker night. When I was married, I would go out, I'd do this open mic and have a couple of whiskeys or whatever, and play some tunes. And I always love seeing new musicians or new artists, go out and do their thing. So I was coming back and I'm in the car, and all of a sudden I've got this like melody of something in my head. I think I had turned off, which is unusual. I didn't have the radio on or nothing. It was just quiet in the car. And I started like tapping on my knee as I'm driving. And I started singing this kind of melody. And I ended up having to pull over, and I recorded it on my phone. And then it sat on my phone in like the voice memos for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months.
Until you were ready.
Well, I kept thinking, oh, I'm going to re-record this, in my space and whatever. But I ended up putting it on the EP that I had put out. This has been taken down at this point, that EP, because I ended up redoing some stuff. But I ended up putting it on the EP from that voice memo that I recorded in the car, because you could hear like other cars passing by, and
Yeah.
I'm slapping my leg to keep the beat of it, and I'm just singing this melody or whatever. I realized like after it, that was the perfect take of that
Yeah. It was
song.
so present, right? It was, you were in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And
By
it's,
the way, that minus the phone,
mm.
that's the same way the song Over the Rainbow was made.
Oh, really?
Is that yeah. He was Harold Arlen was like they had written all the other Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg did the soundtrack to The Wizard of Oz. And they had written all the other songs and they needed to do the big song. And they were just struggling. They couldn't like get their mind around what it was gonna be. Like the back and forth, the deadline's approaching. And so Harold Arlen went for a drive and like it came to him while driving, and so he pulled over and he wrote down the song. And when he came back to Yip Harburg, I guess it sounded a little bit more baroque than the final version, like a little bit more ornamentation.
Yeah.
And Yip Harburg was like, I don't like it. I don't think you did it. And so he was like, no, I think I did. So they called an arbiter who was Ira Gershwin, and they said, okay, we disagree on this song. Is it a keeper or does it go in the bin? And Ira Gershwin said to them, I think it's a keeper. I think it's a hit, but you just have to play it more simply. And that's why we have Over the Rainbow, because the most famous song in the whole soundtrack.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ira Gershwin. And thank you, Roadside, pulling over and writing songs.
Yeah, because it can be a little bit dangerous to do that while you're still driving. So at least the pulling over is an important part.
Yes, that's important. And he didn't have a phone, but he did have a piece of paper.
Yeah, it is great to have, to have something like that now. Like to have
Yeah.
you could just I used to carry around a little, little voice recorder too, for moments like that back in the day. They were pretty cheap for like note taking or whatever. But
Sure.
so alive. Why alive?
Um, I have all different ways I title my records, like at all different points in the creative process. All of the songs on this album are sort of a celebration of a different aspect of being alive. I have songs that answer the question, at least for me. I can't answer for anybody else. Like this is very personal, but the why am I here? I have a song called I'm Here. And I'm Here is about my whole purpose for living. Like why am I here? It's like in a meditation it came to me, there's very clear answer why you're here, and this is what it is. So I'm telling everybody, and I'm here. Other songs about sort of like stripping down all of the chaos and the busyness and getting back to your heart. A lot of the songs are about that. How every day, is it the first or the second song? It's the first song on the album. That's about the part of really living. That's about our work. It's about approaching your life with love and loving what you do and doing what you love with love and coming at it every day and doing your best and then resting and then doing it again. And so that's a very important part of being alive. So there's getting away, there's being present for work, there's why am I here? There's a song called I'm in it for love and happiness, which talks about, it's actually the first lines are, the games people play out in the fray, I don't want to play. I'm in it for love and happiness. Like I'm not really interested in any of these games, right? And the one that I really love this song. It's not one of the singles, but I really love it for its opening lines, which is a song called This Morning, which is the first lines are, the early news can wait. The phones and the socials will be there in an hour. Let's take some time to celebrate life together. So about like slow down. We don't need to dive into all the circus. Like we can actually not look at our phones first. We can look at each other first. We can like connect with the person next to us or the person across the table, or, and then don't worry, we will connect with our phones after that. It's gonna happen.
It's so funny how that addiction has gotten so I don't know if the word is rampant, but it is rampant. Yeah, like that addiction to your phone. I watch, I like watching people. I'm sure you do this too as like a songwriter. You like to watch like environments that you're in. Like if I go out on a date with my girlfriend or whatever, I'm constantly watching everything
Sure.
on,
Yeah.
in the room. But
It's all story happening everywhere, right?
it's and maybe it's because of I didn't have a cell phone at all until I was maybe 18, maybe 17 or 18, around there. And even then it wasn't a smartphone. It was like, you could call someone or maybe text, maybe at that time. But I think text messages were still you were paying like 5 cents a message. Remember that when you had to pay for?
Well, I'm older than you. So, so
Are, I don't think you are you? I think you
I
are.
think I am. I didn't know how old you were, but just from what you were saying, I will tell you I am older than you. Because
Well, I got a cell phone pretty early on because someone had come into the Starbucks that I was working with and they were selling them. They were trying to get people to sign up for cell phones. And he had come in like, hey, I've got this deal or whatever, and ended up signing up for it. It wasn't something that was like I needed or whatever. It was like pay per minute,
I
you know.
don't know how much older than you I am,
Yeah.
but I'm probably not that much. But I got my first dumb phone
Mm,
after I was married.
mm.
So when I am 49 years old, so I had a beeper when I graduated college. I had a beeper through Smart Beep, and it was $1.99 a month, and people would beep me, and then I'd go to the payphone and I'd
Yeah,
call them
yeah.
back.
I had
And then
too.
you had a beaver too, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my husband and I got these very cutting edge watches
Hmm.
that were ahead of their time. It was made by Seiko, a big watch brand, and they were called the Message Watch. And you could type a text from a computer to someone's watch.
Huh.
And you could get, whatever kind of ticker tape information you want. You could get stocks, you could get sports scores, you could get headlines on your basically message watch, but you had to have a subscription to it. And people didn't get it. They're like, why would I want all that on my watch? Like, isn't that a watch is a watch?
Yeah.
So Seiko folded their message watch after like a year or two, but it was way ahead of the
Yeah, yeah.
Apple Watch or whatever. And so it was way ahead of texting. Actually, you could type an email to a watch.
Hmm. I was just
So
I was just
yeah,
talking. As a matter of fact, you might even know about this. All right, we're gonna get deep into the nerdy communications stuff here. When I was younger, I think my one of my early girlfriends, the way we used to communicate, because I had a cell phone, but it was so expensive to use it, so I never used
yeah,
minutes on it. So what I used to do is like if she would if she was coming over, she would call my phone but hang up after a certain amount of rings. So we could tell like when, you know what I mean? So we didn't have to actually answer it. So we weren't using
yes,
minutes.
right.
Yeah. So you
Two
would keep
rings if
like,
yes, one
right,
ring
right.
if no.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, but also the way we used to actually communicate, I just remembered this. My brother had gotten um it was called Web TV or something.
I
But
remember Web
all
TV.
all it was just email, basically. And I think there was a browser too. You had like a browser and email in it, and you could send email through the TV. It was like a little box or whatever you plugged into it.
Yeah,
And that's the way we always communicated back and forth, was through this like web TV thing.
like early Discord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was crazy. Um,
The great great
but,
grandparent of Discord.
but like now, I feel like people, it wasn't this all enveloping thing. It was more about communicating with
Yeah,
people. I feel like we've gotten into this weird world of people want to be able to curate, I think, their lives through what they're portraying on there, and
sure.
almost like that world better because they have some level of easy control over what other people are, how they're being perceived, versus
Yes.
in the real world it's you. you got to put in either the work or whatever in order to present yourself in the way you would want to be presented. There's a lot of effort that's involved in
Well,
doing
you
that
have to
sometimes.
have a social media life. It's kind of like there were people who held out and didn't buy computers for a long time. I mean, again, showing my age. I got my parents bought half my first computer. My parents did the best they could. They bought half of my first computer as a college graduation present.
Huh.
So, and it was one of these big boxes and a tower. And that was my first computer. And
Did you ever
that was
did you make
hmm?
music on it ever? You
I
play
used to do finale in college. I did some finale and right afterwards. And yeah, I mean, I came and I went with it. I didn't have computer skills. Like some people, like my husband's family were early adapters to technology. They loved it. And so they were, it was like they were tinkerers and they had computers, when they were new. So he always had this sort of for my generation. We're the same generation. I just don't know how old are you?
We're both X. I was 1980. I was born, so
Oh, okay, I'm 5 years older. Okay, okay. So his family were like way ahead of everybody. He has this intuitive relationship with technology because he was there when it started to unroll and he was close to it the whole time. So like our kids who grew up in a world that only had technology with them, they're very fluid with it. It's intuitive. It's a language that they learn to speak like any other spoken like language that you're immersed in. So for me, it was I know how to do things grew up learning how to do things with my hands. I could do pottery and woodwork and knit and sew and cook and do all these sort of old school things. And I could sing, which was, an organic thing. And I had to learn how to translate everything. I could paint, but now I had to learn everything, translate everything. Now I'm fine, 20 some years later, 30 years later. I don't know. But it was a transition.
yeah, that was kind of so I'll give you a little bit of history on me and to our viewers here too, and if anyone's interested. So when I was younger, so my father worked for the sanitation department in New York City, right? So he was a garbage man, right? He also drove a bus for 20 years. So he's had two full careers along with being a musician and all that stuff. But what's funny about when I was growing up and you say, oh, you're older, but I think we're probably in the same generational space technologically because my dad, instead of buying the latest and greatest, let's say new Nintendo or whatever the video game system or computer that was coming out. We did have a Commodore 64 at one point, but for the most part, the technology that we had in the house was stuff that people were throwing out that still worked that he'd
That's
find.
great.
He would bring it,
Yeah.
but usually that was like the generation behind whatever the newest thing that was out, right? So because they were throwing it out because they got the new thing. So we would have the generation behind it, like the Atari, I think I got when Nintendo came out and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I never really got into there's some people in my same age group that are really into video games and that sort of thing. I never really got
Yeah.
into it because I was still outdoors. I still had all of that stuff. I was still music was a huge, I mean, it was like I can't remember a time where music wasn't the biggest thing in my life. Like from the time I was,
Yeah.
3. Like my dad was in bands and stuff. I remember that. But like I never got into it until I was, I think, 18 or 19. My brother's girlfriend, who's now his wife, um, had brought her computer. We were all living together in an apartment, and we had a friend, this guy Raj. Shout out to Raj for teaching me this. I wanted to build a website because I was starting to like design clothes and I was doing music and all this stuff. And
Cool.
this new thing, the internet, there's an opportunity here to put that stuff out and distribute it in a way that like I couldn't just do on my own, right?
Yeah.
So I learned to do web, like coding HTML from this guy who was an IT person so that I could do my music stuff. But I was always dead set against the computer stuff, and like I didn't have any interest in technology and all that stuff. And now, people would be very surprised to hear that I was like dead set again. I'm like, this stuff is not, I don't know, it's not real. It's um, gonna tear our society apart and
The AI?
that sort of thing. And while we're getting there, I probably knew something back then that I shouldn't. I should know now, but yeah, and I think the whole point of it is I feel like there's almost a return, and maybe AI is sparking that. There's some concern about, okay, where are we going with all this? And I see the newest generation, my daughter and my son's generation, almost, while they go on TikTok and they do that stuff,
Sure.
there's a desire to kind of get away from all that. Like my daughter's taking up guitar and she sings and she makes
Wonderful.
like she makes these little geranium things where she gets like dirt and stuff and makes these little ecosystems and like stuff when we
Fun.
were a kid, like that's crazy stuff we would do, get a bunch of
Yeah, right.
dirt
Right.
and see what happens. But it's interesting to see that kind of revolution happen in reverse. Because I feel like we lost something, with everyone having their heads and eyes buried in the phones.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember a time? I remember a time when, like, if you were waiting for an important call, you couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
I remember that. And I think, like, gosh, now we can go on vacation and get that important call. So there are certain things, like there are some things that are much harder and there are some things that are much easier. And that's kind of how I'm looking at AI too. First, the genie's out of the bottle. It's gonna be part of our lives.
Yeah.
And so how is it going to make life easier? And try and avoid the ways it's going to make life harder, and it's because it's here. But there are certain things that technology makes so much easier. I mean, I used to send out press kits. So I was a professional singer at 15, 16 years old, and I did my own booking. So I would send out press kits, and the press kits were these glossy folders, and I'd have a business card in it, and I'd have a headshot and a couple of reviews and a cassette tape and and it was like a little kit, like a press release.
Yeah.
And I'd have to stick it in a big folder and walk it down to the post office and stick it in the mail. And I think at one point and the other thing was, we didn't have like design software that, because we didn't have computers. So
Yeah.
I would have to go to a graphic designer if I wanted something designed well. I'd have to go to a photographer if I wanted it. And I still like going to a photographer when I want something really gorgeous. But for the regular stuff, I'd have to do it all expensive style. And, was $20 a press kit. And there's no guarantee of a gig.
Yeah.
Once you get it in the mail and get it there, it's $20 a press kit. And now it's an email, cost you nothing. And I think this is, I'm seeing this I have, my son will be applying to college in the fall. And, they have the Common App, which is different than what we had, where most schools, there's one application you fill out. You still pay per school for them to process it because somebody's reading everything. And there might be a school-specific question or prompt. But it's really easy to apply because you fill one thing out once and then just do the school-specific component, right? So all the information is the same of the basic. So it's one thing and you send it out. What I've learned, I have several college professor friends, and what I've learned is that the colleges are getting so many applications because it's so easy for people to send them that it's making it much harder to get into schools because the top candidates are applying to every school.
Oh.
and they're all getting spots and waiting for the best spot and the best aid before they reject them, before it can go down the line, right? But on one hand, it's so much easier. On the other hand, it's so much harder. I feel that same thing is what's happening with like booking of festivals or for the musicians, is that it used to be, you had to really want that festival, have appropriate art for it, have an appropriate audience. And when you went to the trouble of sending that $20 press kit when $20 was also worth more and sending it to somebody, they would have fewer of them on their desk, and they would be able to really digest what they have, you know, and you'd have higher visibility because of that. Now it's a click away. Everybody's got to have a lot of gatekeepers, either digital gatekeepers or human gatekeepers or AI gatekeepers, or just they won't receive unsolicited from anyone, and they only go through, these agents because it makes their life more manageable. So I think like the technology, it makes things easier, it makes things harder, it makes things cheaper, it makes them more expensive. It's like, what wave are we riding today?
Yeah,
It's fine.
I think though I think in a way we're in like the infancy of of what all this is, right? I think we're going to find ourselves, in 20, 30 years, 40 years or whatever from now, in a place where we've more figured out how to make those things a tool as opposed to kind of the obsession that it is. If you get what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
like for
Yeah.
instance, one of the things I miss from when I was younger, like you were talking about, you'd have to stay at home and wait for the important call, right? And if that's an important call, you would do that, right? But
Right. Yeah. How important,
but the
right?
right, but the call that comes in, that's your aunt, your third aunt, right, on your mom's side, that just wants to talk about how you used to love, I don't know, bologna sandwiches when you were a kid. You didn't have to respond immediately to that phone call coming in. It would go to an answering machine, but you'd be out doing something, and then you'd come back, and maybe you would respond the next day, maybe you would never respond, whatever. The thing is, but you had moments of boredom. And I say that not in a bad way.
It's a good
Because
thing.
those
Boredom's
were
good.
my favorite. And you're in New York City now. But I grew
I'm actually in New Jersey, but I grew up in
Oh, New Jersey,
Manhattan.
right. So, but in the metropolitan area, right? So I'm sure you
Yeah.
take the subway probably
Yeah.
once in a while, right? And so one of my favorite times was taking the subway. Yeah, I'd have music, because the Walkman was around and all that kind of thing, and a Discman. But I remember sitting on a train, sometimes with music, sometimes without, and just sitting there and like people watching, or being alone with my own thoughts, and not have, like, if you get a text message, there's this like nagging thing of like, I got to respond to this. Or if you get a phone call and you don't answer it, you kind of feel like, should I reply to this? Should I call them back? Like at any given moment, you're constantly at the behest of people that wouldn't have
Well,
been able to gain access to your time. Um,
this is true, but I mean, I'm not everybody's favorite person for this one. I'll start with that. So,
well,
if you want to be the favorite
it's
person,
but it's a
this might not be a move, but I turn my ringer off and haptics too. And
well,
it's the same thing.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying, is that I think we're moving. We're starting to realize that that's not a healthy thing to be doing, to be constantly in that world of we've got to answer and respond and all that. And I think we're going to find ourselves in a few years, especially with AI, maybe dealing
Mhm.
with some of that, using AI to get rid of some of that, the noise of it, and then
Yeah,
responding in a more efficient way to what's coming in information wise.
sure.
I miss those times where I was able to be just alone with my thoughts, because so much creativity came out of that. And
Yeah.
I love those moments of just being on the subway by myself, even waiting for a bus in the rain,
Right.
I didn't have
And
a
not
phone on
having
me,
that default answer.
but also I didn't have a phone. I wasn't worried about something getting wet and getting destroyed.
Right.
I just let myself get rained on sometimes.
Right.
It was, and I think there's going to be a return kind of in some way, shape, or form to that.
I
And
think
I
so
think
too.
parties,
There's some sort of you have to sort of manage the expectations of the other people. Like if they think they need to get you, then sometimes people really need to be able to catch you. Like, my mother fell the other day. She's fine, but she needed to reach me.
yeah.
And, you know, um, and she did. Um,
Well, that's also some. So Monika, like you say, like okay, you turn off your ringer, right? But we both have kids, right?
right.
Both have now parents who are getting up there in age,
Yeah.
proposing, right? And so if a call comes in from my mom or my dad, I'm usually like, okay, I don't know what this is. It may be something just they want to just shoot the shit. And
Yeah.
deep enough into the episode, hopefully that doesn't affect the algorithms, but we'll just shoot the shit. Or there's a problem that I need to like help them with. And same thing goes for my kids, you know? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And I mean, so my kid in summer, especially actually during the school year too, I mean, I'm up with them or I'm up earlier than everybody in the household actually, pretty routinely. But, I see them off to school or in the summer, they sleep late a lot of the time. I am up and, my husband and I will have a quiet cup of coffee. We leave the phone, we sit on the back patio. We leave the phones in the house,
did you come
you
to
know,
that agreement with each other? Did you have a sit down conversation like we're gonna do?
Yes, I mean, we did. I started it because yeah, I'll just get on and I'll start responding to people, even though nobody needs me. Like, people don't need to a lot of time people reach out, and don't need to hear from you immediately. And yet there's no honor code that you have to get back to somebody when it's not pressing. Like, within an hour, you can give them some, give yourself some time to have a cup of coffee and look at the grass and listen to the birds. So I decided, because I get sort of honor bound and commitmenty, like, oh, well, this person asked me a question, therefore I need to answer it right now, which I don't. Um,
Do,
I, yeah.
do you do
So
you do you think that? So I asked this the last episode that I still got to edit. Actually, it's going to come out tomorrow. We'll see. See if I'm able to accomplish that. But wait, I had a conversation about um songwriters in particular and their empathetic nature, and it goes back to kind of what I was talking about before, like being in a scenario, and I tend to watch people and see what people are doing, especially like for someone's on a first date, or you see like a married couple that's been together for a while, and you can kind of like I like watching those things and um and experiencing them. What like there's this oversensitivity to the emotions that are going on in the room, like this empathy thing,
yes,
right?
yes,
And I'm sure you kind of feel that way too. And I
yes,
some of my distaste for the technology and having the phone and that sort of thing is I imagine the other person waiting for me to respond and thinking like if I don't respond quick enough, there's going to be this like I don't want them to have a bad emotion because I couldn't take the 2 seconds to just respond to them, even though that 2 seconds is going to be more costly to me than it should be to do that, right? Because to take moments out of the day or what I'm doing at the moment to just like you said, you're sitting out there with your husband enjoying the grass and the sunset, and yet you're like, I'm going to respond to this who knows person that I'm not really
right.
close to about something that could wait an hour or two. It doesn't matter that you respond right there.
Yeah.
Do you think because you were talking about AI and I think there's um you know I think you have some insight into using AI in a positive way to filter that. Um
Well, I don't use AI for phone calls or anything like that. But, generally speaking, I mean, I am not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. No, but I am never the person somebody needs in a life or death situation. I mean, if somebody did need me, I'd be there. I'm like good in an emergency. I have a cool head. I'm very calming. But the thing is that if I look at my phone periodically, even when my mom went, when she fell, there were people around her. She's not relying. I'm not her care provider. Like she was with her husband, and there were other people there who did the immediate thing, which was get her checked out by a doctor. And so she texted me, I fell and I'm at the doctor's. And 10 minutes could have passed, 20 minutes could have passed, and she would have been fine. She would have been totally fine. And when I saw it, I called her and she was fine. Um, and I guess I trust that because I'm not the person who is, if I was a doctor on call, I'd have that ringer on, I'd have that haptics on. If I was the point person picking somebody up at the airport, I'd have that ringer on, I'd have those haptics on. There's so many ways to reach me for the people who need to reach me. Like my kids, they can text, I'll turn things off, they'll come and they'll knock on the door, or, I'll see, even if haptics are off, my phone is on a stand. I'll see it light up. If I see names, I can stop. But I try to not jump at everything, because I don't actually even try anymore. I check in intervals, you know, like and nobody has run into a problem where they needed to reach me and couldn't. It's sort of like in the morning, the kids are asleep, you know, I know I'll check my phone in 20 minutes or in an hour. If my mom needs care, she's got it. If my dad needs care, he's got it. If, like the kids are home, like, or they're at school with teachers and a nurse's office, like it'll be okay. And I guess I have a sense of that it'll be okay. Also, I guess they're all, again, it's not a situation where somebody's like, my kids are smart teenagers with the ability to.
I don't think smart and teenager, you can't put that in the same.
They have the ability to figure out what they need to figure out for the most part, right? Yeah, no, I know you are. And I don't know. I mean, I just sort of don't. I decided not to have urgency about it.
And be alive.
And be alive. And I'm encouraging people.
You see how I brought it back?
Yes.
I'm a pro at the.
You're a pro. And put it down just for a minute. It's okay. It's all right. The world is not going to explode.
If I could take on a little bit of a tangent, but in the direction of your album and Spain in particular.
Yeah.
I have not been to Spain. First, where in Spain? Was it northern Spain, southern Spain? Where?
We recorded this in Valencia, Spain, which is along, this Andalusian coastline. Oh, gosh, so beautiful. Yes. Unbelievably beautiful. Like beautiful.
The food I have had. And the reason I know a little bit about Spain, like the Asturias region and Basque Country and all that, is because I owned a cider bar, and so there's a lot of in northern kind of Spain, especially the Asturias region and Basque region. So I learned a lot about food and pairing it with that, and I made a bunch of Spanish food. But I'd love to go there and eat my way through Spain.
I mean, you could totally love that trip.
You feel like in Spain, like they're more grounded to that part of life, like the food and the
well, I would say, in my opinion, in my experience, yeah, I experienced that, but I also think that, yes, I loved Spain. In fact, Spain was one of the countries I've been to that I thought, you know what, I could live here. I love this place. I love this place. I mean, I really loved meeting all the people I met at all the people in all the places, like in the people in shops and the people in hotels and the people in the storekeepers, like everybody I encountered had a friendly warmth and a welcoming spirit and a sort of a relaxed energy. Now, I could have been extraordinarily lucky. I was on vacation, or workation,
that always
like,
a little bit of a biased.
But I mean, it was really nice.
Yeah, I do want to go to Spain, and so the album in its totality, obviously you named it Alive, and so the songs probably I would assume all speak to that title of Alive. I mean, what's your hope when people listen to the record? What's your hope that because when you write songs, a lot of the time I think this song is not mine anymore. Once it's been recorded and I put it out there, it's up to someone else. There's that famous Andy Warhol quote where he says, let the critics criticize, let them all talk about it. Just keep making art. Like,
Right. Yeah.
uh,
Once it's out of once you've closed closed whatever it is,
your job
sealed.
isn't to tell people what your art means or what they should think about it.
Right.
It's once it's out of you, it's there, it's theirs. And then just keep making more art.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Once it belongs to other people.
but you
Well,
tend to have a concept of like what you think people would get from it, or what you're
sure.
into. Like, what is your kind of vision of what, you know?
Well, it's this my vision for it is that this will be a soothing little vacation for people, that it'll be a soothing little even if it's not a vacation, even if it's the work song or the contemplative, I'm here, it's this sort of soothing little, like, well, yeah, it's not so much strain. I go to work, I do what I love, I work hard, and then I rest. And there's something calming about that I think the last album I made, Playfully, also had the same purpose. And the next one, which is already recorded and mixed, is got the same kind of purpose. They all have the same purpose. They're three very different albums, but they have the same purpose, which is to sort of remind people that though there's chaos all around us, that's real. That's not, I don't even talk about it. We already know it. Like we're experiencing it and we're living it. The whole world has been living a lot of chaos for, 8 years, give or take. And,
I think
and
longer than that.
I know, but it's almost like the chaos turned up. And maybe it was more than 8 years. You're right. I mean, the chaos speed turned up, I feel like.
Yeah.
Starting with some political shifts around the globe, going into some.
I love the way you just skirted around the That's good. I don't want to talk politics, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. There's
Yeah.
like this like headline grabbing thing to the news that wasn't always there. I mean, you had like the tabloids back in the day, but like it was never this like
This must
yes.
win at all costs, even at the cost of the truth. Let's cover this up, and let's cover that up, and let's hide this just because we gotta win. We gotta win, and it's an us against them. And, families have been torn apart. Friendships have been torn apart. And, people inside are getting torn apart.
Yeah.
And, I don't like this. No, very few people do like this. The people who are making money and profiting off of this probably love this, but the rest of us don't care for it. And then there's also been some very real world, painful things. There's conflict, and there's been a health crisis, and so on and so forth. So we're all tired. And I'm not talking about the stuff that makes us tired, because we're already experiencing the tired, and we're already experiencing that grief and that stress. And, when I was living through the pandemic with my family, I found our way to get through it and remain. We had actually a very sane, very peaceful quarantine. And what we did is we looked for all the little things that were joyful, all the little things that were magical. We planted a lot of tomatoes and we planted a lot, like we've just found the joy in all the little things that we had control over or that we could observe, even things that we don't have any control over in each other. And you sort of, the other chaos is attention grabbing. And you could spend your whole life, your whole mind in there, and you got to share the real estate with the good stuff, you know. Like, so that's what my albums are about. It's like, let's share this real estate in here so that we can bring our blood pressure down, and smell, we can actually smell the flowers, we can actually, you know, taste the food, we can actually see each other, we can you know, hear the music, we can feel the sand in our feet, and that's a reason to be fueled and feel good while this other stuff is going on. It's not denying it. It's just saying, like, you could take a break. Let's take a break. Let's just calm down, smile at each other silently across the table for an hour.
There's a new phrase kind of going around. It's called touching grass. Like, you know, go touch grass.
Yes.
That's what I'm starting to see, is this, like, this movement towards, yeah, and you know, the internet and what's going on there is very different than what the real world is. And one of the things, the reason I kind of brought up the phones and all that stuff is because I was sitting in a car driving back from Washington, D.C. last week, and you know, I'm driving, so I didn't have a chance to really be looking at my phone, and I could just watch the landscape as I'm driving. And it's actually a very pretty drive from, like, at least from where I'm from, down to DC, because you get a lot of like Pennsylvania and the hills, and
Oh, it's pretty. Yeah.
really pretty. And so you get a chance to kind of see that. And it made me reminisce about before there was the attachment to that. And I hope we get to a point where you know, people give themselves break from the intensity of all that, because it's not the real world. And I think that, you know, all the, especially with the politics and what's going on there, um I'm not going to get into any of what, you know, who's the candidate and all that kind of stuff, but I think the dichotomy of it is manufactured a bit online. And I think when you get onto the real world and you start talking to people and you're in, you know, in an environment, it's not that dire. I think we're still the same human beings we've always been, and you know.
Right, right. We are. And you know, I'm again not going to talk about politics myself. I do think we are in a few different cultural pivot points right now. And I do think it's very important. But I also believe that my role in all of this, it's some people's roles to go out there and report on the truth. And it's some people's role, and that's a very, very, very important role. It's some people's role to go out there and you know, hold politics and journalism to a high standard. And that's a very important job. And I kind of think of my job as like helping people stay grounded and feeling good. and and they're just different parts of the helper group, you
Yeah.
know. Like, that we're all helping in our little ways or our big ways. And my way is to just sort of say, okay, you can enjoy yourself, it's all right, it's okay, work is good.
Yeah, and I think we're, you know, as artists and as musicians, and you know, songwriters and what have you. I think we're in some way the grass, you know, that
Yeah, right.
needs to be touched
That's
every once in a while.
that's
And
right.
and your album is definitely, you know, Alive is definitely one of those albums that I think people should go out and listen to, and you know, listen to the lyrics and listen to your music, and maybe,
Thank
you know, put on a pair of headphones, turn off the notifications, and sit in a room. I've been doing that lately too with albums, especially new music that I get introduced to. Sitting in my bedroom, turn off the lights, lay down, eyes closed, headphones on, and just, you know, listen to the music, and touch grass for a little while.
Yes, yes, I love that. I love that. I mean, or however you feel like your mind is open and you're just at peace. Like we sometimes we have a turntable and we don't have, not everybody presses records anymore. It's so expensive
It
to
really
press
is.
records.
Yeah.
Oh
But
God, you gotta
for
like really know you're gonna sell a lot of them to press them. I mean, they're cool, and I wish
yeah,
knew I that a lot of people would buy them because I would press them. Anyway, that's a sidebar. We will light candles and we'll put a record on,
yeah.
and it's kind of the same thing. It's like, whoa, it's like having that headphone experience with others, right?
That's that's
you know.
that's what. So how about this? How about I'll put a challenge out to our audience here. How about people go out, they can download your album obviously on any of the uh digital distribution channels that people normally would, and they could buy it obviously physically. But maybe if you're going to buy the album, go into a room. How long is the album? Maybe an hour, give or take.
I think it's under an hour. I have some, it's 13 songs, but they range from like a minute and a half to five and a half.
Yeah.
Like it's,
So let's
I think
say
it's about,
an hour.
yeah,
Go
an hour.
go listen to it in the dark, maybe some headphones on, or if you have a partner or a friend with you in the room, maybe take a little bit of the devil's cabbage, and sit in a room, put on headphones or play it on your stereo system and listen to it and listen to, because I think the amount of work that you put into it, I think that it it, it deserves for people to hear it the way you probably hear it, because I'm sure you've listened to it, back to front several times, and you as the artist
Thank
probably
you.
have some criticisms of your own work or whatever,
Yeah,
but
we can't help that as artists.
I
It's
think as a listener though, just sitting and actually hearing what's there, as opposed to listening to it while you're on your run or while you're driving, or I think like sitting with a piece of art um is important, and especially like a brilliant piece of work like Alive. So uh,
oh, thank you.
I'm going to put that challenge out. Download the album, and Monika will tell you where here in a moment because we're coming up on time. But go download it, listen to it. Maybe some of the what's another double entendre for for marijuana, not the devil's. Yeah, jazz, jazz lettuce. No, devil's lettuce or jazz cabbage. That's what they call it. Jazz cabbage. But you don't have to do that either. Just put on some headphones or whatever and listen. Monika, thank you for being on the show a second
Thank you
time.
for
I really
having me.
appreciate it. Next time I'm down in New York City, maybe your husband and you and even your kids, we can go out and maybe catch a lunch somewhere, or a drink or whatever. Um,
That sounds amazing. I would love that.
bring some instruments probably, and
Yeah.
that stuff too. But I'd love to get together with you. So tell people where they can find it again one more time, your website and all that, and we'll.
Awesome. Thank you. It's been a pleasure again. And we could go on and on. But
Yeah.
my my website is MonikaRyan.com. And I'm on all the streaming places, Spotify, Apple, Deezer, Tidal. Um, and I'm on Facebook. You can find information on Facebook and on Instagram, and I have some TikTok videos. And then I have two live shows, one of which there's a ticket link up already for. I'm going to be at the Cutting Room on Friday the 13th, September 13th.
Oh wow.
Um, I know I picked that day. He gave me like, I planned it so far in advance. He's like, when do you want it? I was like, I want it on Friday the 13th. So
That's awesome.
I'm
So
delighted.
if you send that to me, I'll put it in the description too for the YouTube channel. So
Oh, I will. Thank you so much. And we're going to be performing the music from Alive. And then the next one I'm going to say will be the ticket link is not live, but it's going to be at Mesro Jazz Club in Greenwich Village. And I'm going to be performing the music from the next CD, which is called Sweetness. And Sweetness will be performing that because it'll be releasing in February. The date is February 21st. So it will be so fun. So
oh
please
wow.
come.
All right. All right. Excellent. So I expect every single one of you guys that are in the New York metro area and New Jersey to come out and see all of that stuff and listen to Monika wow you with her musical prowess.
Wow. Thank you.
Um,
I'll do it.
so, thank you everyone that watches. Thank you everyone that subscribes, all that. Thank you to our sponsors. Don't forget again to like, subscribe, comment. That all helps with again our AI overlords and our algorithm kings and queens or whatever you want to call it that are governing what you're watching and listening to. But please go download Monika's new album Alive, available on all those streaming platforms. We'll have links to all that stuff in the comments or in the description. Sorry, I've had a cognac or two here. In the description, Monika, thank you. It's so much fun talking to you all the time. And like I said,
Thank
hopefully,
you.
I think I'll be down there and sometime in September, maybe again. So I'll let you know when we're planning on coming down, and hopefully we can get together and just
That would be amazing.
shoot the proverbial shit.
I would love that. I would love that. Let's do
And
it.
and thank you again for being on the show. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.